All right, so this lesson is on variables and expressions. So let's look through this list. We're going to go through what each of these words or phrases mean to do in terms of, is it add, subtract, multiply, or divide. As I'm going through these, if there are any that you don't know, you need to write them down, okay? And you can pause it as I'm doing it so that I don't get too far ahead of you, okay? So again, any that you don't know, you need to pause it and write them in your notebook because you're going to see them on your worksheet and on your test. More than means you are going to add. If you don't know that, write it down. Product means multiply. Another thing that we should talk about in Algebra 1, I know before a lot of times you've used an X for multiply, like if you wanted to do 3 times 4, that's how it would be written. In algebra, we use the letter X a lot, so we don't do this X for multiplication anymore. Starting now, anytime you want to put multiply, it's a dot. So the way we're going to write 3 times 4 is 3 and then that dot and then the 4. So product means multiply. Multiplied means multiply. So we're going to put the dot. Times, if you times something, again, timesing is multiplying. If you see the word is means equals. If you see the word is means equals. Quotient means to divide. Quotient means to divide. Now, again, in the past, you have done division like this. You've done the line. So like that's how you would write 12 divided by 3. Okay? In algebra, we don't really use this sign anymore. In really all high school maths, you don't really use this anymore. To do division, you would do 12. Oh, listen. And then you draw a line divided by 3. So this is how we do division. 12 and then the line divided by 3. So quotient is division. I'm going to put this division sign just so you don't think it's subtraction. But please make note of this in your notebook. We don't write it like this, 12 and then the division sign and then 3. We write division like this, 12 with a line under it and then the 3. Increase by means to add. Double. All right, so this is a tricky one you're probably going to want to write down. If you double something, that means you're going to multiply it by 2. I'm going to put 2 and then that multiplication sign. Doubling something means multiply by 2. Same thing with twice. Twice means you're going to multiply by 2. So I'm going to do the 2 and the dot. Twice means multiply by 2. Plus means to add. Less than means to subtract. Per is another division. Per means to divide. Sum means to add. Difference means to subtract. Minus means to subtract. And decreased by means to subtract. Okay, so any of those that you did not know, please write them in your notebook. All right, I want you to pause it and I want you to write down these 2 phrases. Okay, hopefully you have them written down. If you see less than or subtracted from, that means the answer is backwards. So let me give you an example of what that's going to look like. If I said 11 less than x, 11 less than x. Well, you know that less than means to subtract, so it would be a subtraction, but you write it backwards. So here's what that means. The 11 is going to come at the end, and the x is going to come first. So that would be x minus 11. Let me do another one just to make sure, you know, we're good. Let's do y subtracted from 13. All right, so subtracted from, again, means we're doing subtraction, but it also means we're going to write it backwards. So the y is going to go at the end. and 13 goes first. So that would be 13 minus y. The sum and the difference means that we're going to use a parenthesis. So let me give you an example of what that would look like. The sum of 1 and x times 4. So if I wanted to write the sum of 1 and x times 4, here's how I would write that. The sum, first of all, it means we're going to add. So we're going to add 1 and x. And sum means you put it in parentheses. So 1 and x are in parentheses. And then times, so there's my dot, 4. So that's how you would write the sum of 1 and x times 4. All right, moving on. If you ever see a number, if you ever see those words, a number, it means we're going to use a letter. I like to use X. You could use Y or A or B or C, but if you ever see a number, that means you put a letter. If you see twice a number, and you need to be writing these down, if you see twice a number, that means you're going to do 2X or 2A or 2B, but 2 times a letter. Squared means you're going to raise it to the second power. So it could be like X to the second power. Squared means it's a little 2 up top. And cubed means it's a little 3 up top. So like X to the third or Y to the third. Cubed means that exponent is a 3. So let's go through some of these. You don't have to write them down, but if you would think of the answer in your head and pause it and then see if you're right. All right. So number 1, 8 more than the difference of x and 6. So let's start. We're going to start left to right. So 8. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me just text it. 8 more than means to add. The difference, that was a special phrase. If you look right back here, the difference meant that we needed to use parentheses. So I'm going to do a parentheses. The difference of x. Difference also means subtract. And 6. So that's my answer for 8 more than meant add. The difference meant I had to put parentheses. And it also means subtraction. So x minus 6. Okay, let's try this one. Actually, pause it. You try this one. See if you can get it. And then we'll go over it. So we're going to do 10 times. I'm going to put my little dot. 10 times. The sum. Sum meant you needed to do parentheses. And it also means to add. So sum of 7 and a number. And again, if you see a number, we like to use the x. So it's 10. There's my time symbol. 10 times. The sum meant to do parentheses. 7 and a number is 7 plus, and then a number means you put an x. 20, a number less than 20. Let's do through this one. So less than definitely means subtraction, and it means you write it backwards. So a number is going to go at the end, so I put an x at the end, and the 20 is going to come first. So 20 comes first, less than means subtraction, and then a number, that x goes at the end. All right, next. A number squared less than the number. Well, let's start with the number squared. A number squared, well, let's just start with the number. That would be an x. Squared means your little exponent is a 2. Okay, so that's a number squared. I got that part done. Less than means to subtract, but what else does it mean? It also means we're going to write the answer backwards. So the minus is going to come in the front. And it says less than that same number, the number. So if you see the number, you use a letter. So let's go through this again. A number squared, that's how I got the x squared. Less than meant subtraction, and it means write it backwards. So the number squared goes at the end, and the number goes in the front. Twice a number is 18. Let's go through this one. Twice a number, twice means times 2. So I'm going to put 2x, twice a number, 2 times x. Is means equals, and 18. Let's do this one. 10 decreased by means to subtract. Twice a number. Twice a number means 2 times, and then a number means you use the letter x. Quotient of x and 22. Well, remember, quotient means to divide. So x and 22. So x divided by 22. Is means equals, and it's going to be 14. The product. Product means multiply. So this is going to be 3/4 times a. So you could put 3/4 a, or if you like to use the dot, you could put the little dot in between there. 3/4 times a. To the 7th power, that means your little exponent is going to be a 7. 11 decreased by x to the 3rd power. And the 3rd power means it's going to be a 3. All right, let me show you how to evaluate these. You will need your graphing calculator, so make sure you have that. Let me show you how to type these in your calculator. So if you wanted to do 3 to the 4th, you're going to do 3. And this little button right here gets you exponents. You're going to do raised to the 4th. Now, some of the calculators, it's actually going to put a little box up here so that it really looks like 3 to the 4th. But some calculators, it'll just pop up like this. But 3 to the 4th is 81. All right, let's do 8 to the 3rd. 8 raised to the 3rd power. Oops. 8 to the 3rd is 512. So that's how you do exponents on your calculator. It's this button right here. Next, if I tell you to evaluate, all that means is take these numbers and plug them in. So I'm going to do 10, and anytime I plug something in, I'm going to put it in parentheses. So I'm going to do a 3 in for the x, minus, and then I'm going to bring my 4 down. You see, I'm just taking everything that's up top, and instead of z, look up top, and I'm going to plug in for z a 7. So let me go through that again. I brought my 10 down, x, I don't want an x, it says x is 3. So whenever you plug it in, put it in parentheses. Bring down your minus, bring down your 4, and instead of a z, I'm going to plug in a 7. And then we just type it in our calculator. 10, the parentheses buttons are right here. So 3 minus 4, and then in parentheses 7. And you get 2. So when we evaluate this, the answer is 2. So let's do this one. Y, again, whenever you plug something in, we're going to put it in parentheses. So that's a negative 5 to the 2nd plus 2 minus 3. And I got to plug in something, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. And z is 7. So let's type this in. In parentheses, I'm going to have negative 5. And it's to the 2nd power. Plus 2. Minus 3. And then in parentheses, I'm plugging in the 7. And you get 6. So that answer is 6. Okay, so function notation, this is another way. This is just another way to write equations. Function notation is just another way to write equations. So this is how we've normally seen equations. Y equals 2x plus 3. It can also be written as, instead of a y, we use f and a parentheses and an x. This is called function notation. This part right here is what makes it function notation. the way we say it is this is, if I was going to read this out, it would say f of x is 2x plus 3. F of x is 2x plus 3. Okay, they mean the same thing. It's just another way to write it. Now, the only thing you really need to know about function notation is this letter, whatever letter is in your equation, it might change. So look at these two examples that I did. Instead of an x, this time it's an a. So when you write it in function notation, you just need to remember whatever letter is in the equation is the letter that goes in the parentheses. So this would be read, f of a is 3a minus 4. So this is function notation. When it has the f, that is function notation. Okay? So same thing here. This time I used an m. So the m is what goes in the parentheses. F of m is 9m. So let's try these. Let's rewrite these in function notation. So this first one, instead of y, I'm going to put f. And you got to figure out what letter would I put in that parentheses. Well, what letter did I use here? I used a p. So it would be f of p. And you just rewrite the equation the exact same way. So that's function notation. Let's do another one. Again, what letter needs to go in here? It should be an f. F of s is 4s. And here, what should go in this parentheses? It's an x. It's 3x minus 9. So that's function notation. So that's it for these notes. If you'll go try the Google worksheet and call me over if you need help.